Oh yeah, hello internet and welcome once again to the free-to-play cast. This is episode 174. We're recording on March 22nd, 2016. You'll be watching on the 24th or later. I'm Mike Byrne, aka magicman, your host from MMOBomb.com. Also joining me to talk about some free-to-play goodness, my good friends. You know them, you love them. Let's start with the man of the hour from Free-to-Play Weekly himself, Mr. Zach Sharps. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, still binging my way through Black Desert, but other than that, I'm here, so I woke up, that's great.
Are you at level cap, like level cap in quotes yet?
No, I'm not at soft cap yet. I actually decided to roll Wizard, and currently my Wizard is level 31, which happened in about 6 hours, because I grinded my way, so...
Yeah, I've been playing the Wizard too, and I need to get out of the brown burlap sack. They need to give me some gear that reflects on my character.
It won't happen anytime soon. That's the biggest issue with that game.
Yep. Also on the line, and not on Black Desert Online, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you, sir?
I'm doing okay. Not too bad. I'm sort of over the news, but I can see Zach is wearing black. He's still mourning the loss of EverQuest Next. I don't blame him. It's been hard on all of us, man. He just showed the crying on lines right here.
It's been rough. I wore the black armband, the old-fashioned black armband, for a good week. Before I was ready to let it go.
I shaved my head in mourning, and it all grew back.
Wow, that's Texas for you. Let's head over and get started with the news. I don't know. It's all bigger and grows faster in Texas. I don't know. It didn't make sense. Shut up. You're not supposed to call me on it. All right, so first up today on the news, LawBreakers, by team headed up by Cliffy B. He doesn't like that anymore, right? He wants to be his full name is Cliff Blazinski, correct? We're not allowed to call him Cliffy B anymore.
I don't know.
I think that's the rule now. But anyway, from Boss Key Studios, LawBreakers has decided. Yeah, we know we previously announced that we were going to be free-to-play, and it made sense for our game, and the genre that we're in, and the competition that we're going in, and blah, 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 blah. And then at GDC, they said, hey, not going to do it. Not going to go free-to-play. Now we're going to go buy-to-play. And what's really funny was the actual conference or the presentation name kind of smacked of they understood the genre they're going into being a little overcrowded and about to have some big players in it with things like Overwatch from Blizzard Entertainment. So they entitled their presentation surrounded by 800-pound gorillas standing up to the competition, and then in my book took away the one big advantage they had over their competition, Zach.
Yep. Basically, I predict right now, and I'm going to say this, that LawBreakers will be free to play a year before the year anniversary when it releases. So whenever it releases, before the end of their first year, it's going to go free to play because they completely just hurt themselves drastically. Sure, I understand why they did it, because obviously if you have all the heroes available, or whatever they're calling them in LawBreakers, then you're able to balance the game more. And so whenever you produce a new one, people aren't going to be like, oh my god, it's overpowered, and you have to pay to win in order to get it. It makes sense in that perspective, but it's one of those things where you have Overwatch coming out, which Overwatch, let's just say it really plainly, is going to completely destroy LawBreakers. I played the game. It's amazingly fun. So it's going to be one of those things where they're going against a huge player, and what do they have to offer that's different than Overwatch? Like little tiny differences, the fact that the art style is different, but Blizzard has already sort of shown that whatever they produce usually is very popular. Like even Heroes of the Storm is still pretty decently popular, despite the fact that it's not really a huge major player within the MOBA industry. So I think it's a terrible mistake. Terrible mistake.
Yeah, you wonder a little bit if they're almost like buying into their own press a little bit. To me, anybody who calls himself Cliffy B is someone who's pretty proud of his accomplishments. So
I don't think he likes that anymore. To be fair,
whatever.
To be fair,
what we're always hearing too is, oh, he's man behind Gears of War. He's behind Gears of War, and it's like, well, okay, sure, that's great. That was 10 years ago when it was Gears of War was pretty popular, but it doesn't strike me as the thing that sells millions and millions and millions of copies. I know someone's going to say, oh, look, it sold 5 million, whatever. The point being that I feel like they, on some level, maybe they believe they can compete with something like Overwatch. They feel like they've gotten good press and got a lot of people interested in the game, so they, at least in the short term, think, hey, we'll be okay with this. We'll sell quite a few copies. We'll make pretty good money. And like Zach said, if they feel they have to go free to play in a year or so, it's easier to go that route, to start by selling it and then go free to play a year later, probably than it would be to be free to play and then have nowhere to go from there if it doesn't work out so well.
The interesting thing to me is that it is still being published by Nexon. So when we always saw Nexon, we always just made the assumption something was going to be free to play when Nexon kind of jumped on board with whatever project, and now I guess we're going to have to be a little more careful when we see Nexon on the board. I kind of expected that when they made this announcement that they were also going to be making a sub announcement that they had found a new publisher or had negotiated something or were going to move to self-published. But even the Steam page still has the publisher, the Steam wishlist page for the product still has the publisher listed as Nexon. A bit surprised on that front for me, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, it's really one of those things where Lawbreakers could have done so well within the industry if it was free to play. And I don't really get why they just didn't do sort of like a Smite package where you can pay like $40 to get all the heroes and all the future heroes or whatever. Like, that would have been a lot more of a sort of a counteraction between the Blizzard Overwatch hype and their game entering the market that is already sort of dominated by Team Fortress 2 and then what's going to be Overwatch. Because this the moment from when Overwatch was released, I hate to say this again, it was a big player because it's just Blizzard. That's just what they do. They become big players with whatever market they enter. But it's one of those things where it just seems like what Jason said, that they're buying into their PR. Because you're right, he always does tout, oh, Gears of War, Gears of War, Gears of War. Well, I'm sorry, but you're basically touting that you're a one-trick pony in that regard. So it's, I don't know. I don't see this going well, and I see that since Nexon is still publishing it, the writing's on the wall that's going to become free to play pretty quickly. So
here's the other thing too, Jason. You wrote an article back in, I don't know when it was, about the whole pre-orders versus early access thing, because Cliff was talking about that, and Cliff went into all of this stuff about how they understand, that the free-to-play model can sometimes make gamers a little bit leery of the title, and they want to keep the free players happy while providing a fun and rewarding experience to players. And so we're going to have a program where if you want early access, toss us 15 or 20 bucks, then you can play the game before anybody else, and then maybe get a super discount on the initial pack of stuff that other people may pay a few bucks for. Like, it seemed like the monetization was a done deal at this point. I mean, they were talking about, we want to keep both happy, the free, the not free, we understand, and here's the way we're going to do it. Contrast that with what we got at the GDC conference. Now, the official presser did not have these quotes in there for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. Polygon reported, though, that some of the things said on stage weren't exactly glowing about free-to-play model. Quote, we did a lot of discussions and even more research. There are some core free-to-play games that do well, but for us, we didn't want to go down the well of players buying energy or other sleazy things. A lot of core gamers have a negative reaction when they hear free-to-play because they think they'll get ripped off. They also spoke to the free-to-play community in general having rampant negativity. Just full 180. Not only are we going in a different direction, but we view the audiences as this being a better audience than the free-to-play audience. Now, whether you agree with that or not is a totally different conversation. But the whole 180 on we're trying to make both happy and we feel this is right for us, and then, wait a minute, that audience sucks, this is the audience that's better, that is not good PR.
He almost smedleyed it. I mean, he's like, yeah, I hated doing free-to-play. Screw that crap.
Oh.
I mean, yeah, but the thing is, you just gotta wonder what research did he do if he thought that energy systems belong in a shooter type game. I mean, none of them have that. I don't know where he's getting that from. Yeah, some free to play is crap. So don't put that crap into your game. Don't do that. And as much as he'll say about, just people do complain about free to plays and about some of the monetizations and so on, but it's undeniably the sort of thing that brings in more people. So for all the complaining about it, you do get a lot more players. Now, whether those people stick around, whether they pay, that's another matter entirely. And he's right that there's some people really think it's a ripoff, and some people there are bad systems out there, and there was a lot of negativity in the free-to-play community. But it does still draw in people. So I don't know what he was expecting. What did he learn over the last 6 months or so from when I last did that article? Did he suddenly go in November? Was he like, oh, God, some people don't like free-to-play?
Yeah, and
I just realized this in my research. Where have you been the last 5 years?
Here's the thing, Zach. The genre that they're moving into, I can't think of too many titles in this genre that just have really shitty free-to-play monetization. Nobody gripes about Team Fortress 2's monetization. Nobody really gripes about League of Legends. You see the occasional Rune Page argument here and there, but as a whole, nobody's really going, it's a terrible model. Nobody's claiming Dota as a terrible model or Smite as a terrible model. Even on Paladins, the change, I disagreed with them making such a stark change in what they originally advertised, but I don't necessarily believe that their new change is a bad monetization plan for the game. This is a game that's going to slam right into that genre. It would have what we would expect to be very traditional monetization as far as everything else in the genre, and I don't see the negativity that is being spoken about here by Cliff, and it's just a full 180 that's stunning to me.
It's really just a downplay of the free-to-play model to try and make the buy-to-play model seem like the best fit for the game, because that's really the only reason why I can understand him going on stage and trying just to be so harsh towards a particular model instead of saying, oh, it wasn't the best fit for our game. He just went full on assault towards the free-to-play model because he wants everyone to feel the same way that he wants himself to feel. That is the best sort of path for their game moving forward. And so it's one of those things where the buy-to-play model, sure, I understand his point that, balance-wise, it's going to be good, but when you're moving into such a saturated market and other competitors like Paladins are doing it sort of where it's free-to-play, and then if you want to purchase all the existing particular champions and then all the ones moving forward, then you can pay a particular one-time fee. That's a perfect model for this particular genre because it allows you to try out the game, see if you enjoy it, and then if you get to the point where you're like, oh, well, I do want to have all these particular characters available to me, then you can fork over however much money and you're good to go. Where if you do a buy-to-play model, you don't even get to try the game out, really, unless they come out with a free trial, which, let's be honest, probably won't happen. And then you're basically sitting at fact, oh, well, I have to sort of gamble on this brand new IP, has Nexon plastered all over it, which is never a good thing. And so it's really not a good move strategically for the company. Whether or not you agree with buy-to-play being the best answer for team-based shooters or not is up to you. But he's just downplaying it just because he wants the buy-to-play model to seem like the best fit in the free-to-play model being the absolute worst for that particular genre. So.
All right, I feel bad now. I see Gears of War sold 22 million copies. I guess I just wasn't that into Xbox shooters. So.
I was gonna say you can't downplay Gears of War's success, but I can at least go with you here, Jason, on the research they did. Check out this quote, okay? We are more in the line of Team Fortress with less classes that are deeper, and we didn't want to throw 20 classes in and limit that depth. This is from the Chief Operating Officer, Arjan Brousse. Sorry if I butchered that. Bosky feels that the limited number of characters doesn't lend itself to the character for pay business model of the biggest free-to-play titles. The studio observed the rampant negativity around free-to-play among the core gaming audience. How do you compare yourself saying that we're in line with Team Fortress in that we have less characters, and the less characters is making us go buy to play, when Team Fortress itself also has an exceptionally small list of characters and is free to play.
Maybe they're following it very literally, in that they are going to be buy to play for a couple of years and then go free to play, just like Team Fortress 2 did.
Maybe. Maybe. All in all, it's just, oh, by the way, they changed their art style.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we didn't go from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs to Gears of War, but what sets us apart is we recognize when something is wrong and we change it. I really think they made a huge mistake here. I really do.
Yep.
Given the choice, hey, if I've got Lawbreakers or Overwatch on the shelf, I'm probably going to buy, knowing nothing about the games either, I'm probably going to buy Overwatch simply because it's got the Blizzard label, and now I've forced myself into a direct competition with them finance-wise, not just player-base-wise, but finance-wise. They've also said that the price tag is going to be not a traditional box fee of $60, but somewhere less than that. Still, it's, to me, unnecessary competition when you could have done this the way you originally planned and probably picked up a nice chunk of the crowd.
It's obviously
Overwatch
not-
also. Oh, go ahead.
No, yours.
Oh yeah, Overwatch also has more heroes too.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, and Blizzard also said that they plan to maybe make even more in the future. So it's one of those things where it's like, there's really not a huge value argument here either. So.
Yeah. It's obviously not the whole, the biggest metric of everything, but Lawbreakers has about 22,000 followers on Twitter. Overwatch has 288,000. So.
Yeah, that's a bit of a difference.
Yeah, just a bit.
That's a little
Sort
bit
of the
of a
whole
difference.
WildStar effect going on again, where WildStar had like a small fraction of the Elder Scrolls Online, and look how that worked out.
Moving on, speaking of companies maybe not quite doing things right, Tree of Saviors shocked the Western world, well, you know, all couple thousand of us that are very interested in the game, by doing the worst job of open beta, Zach, I have ever seen in my life. And going ahead and foobarring early access, too, and not really... I mean, the only way I could describe this is the title that I gave the free-to-play police episode Jason and I did on this topic. It went up on the site today, Tuesday, so you can, if you're watching Free-to-Play Cast, you can go and check that out. The best way I could describe it was the title I gave it. Tree of Savior stumbles into early access. I mean, there's really no way around that. For those of you that don't know or aren't aware of what's going on here, let me give you the broad strokes over the timeline here. So Tree of Savior, the upcoming free-to-play game from IMC Games, being self-published here in the West, announced a while back ago that they were going to be making an open beta announcement. They had one stress test, and then they talked about doing an open beta. We're going to announce a date soon. Rather than get a date for open beta as an announcement, all of a sudden we got a Founders Pack announcement. And not only that, the Founders Packs would allow you to either get into the game 3 months early, 2 months early, or 1 month early, depending on how much you wanted to spend on the Founders Pack. The most expensive, of course, giving you 3 months of game access. After that, the free-to-play portion of the game would start and new players could jump in. People were pissed all over the forums. They were very, very angry, rightfully so. 2 days later, IMC Games comes out with a statement saying the reason that we were doing this was because of our Steam launch. A, we wanted to try and limit bots, and B, we wanted to make sure that the servers were stable, and we don't know, we thought it might be smarter to have a gauge on how many people we expect on day one. And while everybody can certainly understand both of those points, it seemed like the Founders Packs were a really nice way of saying, give us money or else you're going to wait a quarter to play the game. So they gave viewers or their readers the option to vote on a few different Founder Pack options. Now, surprising to nobody, the winner was to give all packs 1 month of early access, regardless of whether you paid for the lowest or the highest tier pack. That early access will start on, I believe it's March 28th or 29th. I don't remember which date.
28th, I think they're selling until on 29th is when it
Okay, selling them, but they're going to sell them all the way through. But if you buy them later, then obviously you'll have less early access time. And then at the end of April is when the free-to-play portion will start, and you won't be able to buy those Founders Packs anymore. So still not a lot of happiness, we love you and everything, but at least a bit better than it was. Absolute train wreck train wreck of a PR move and really reeks of cash grab, doesn't it, Jason?
Yeah, and it's just like with Lawbreakers, they said something in their post about, this is what our research told us we should try. And it's like, where are you guys doing your research from? I can't figure that out. What game has ever done this? Can you ever think of any game just giving you on this level? I mean, sometimes all stuff like the super pre-access or pre-early access is 5 days early, then maybe 3 days early, and then
Right.
it gets in something like that. But
I've seen those.
to do a month, 2 months, 3 months in advance, I don't know how you could have come up with that and thought it would be a good idea. Other than what it probably is, what I absolutely believe it was some executive, somebody in charge, or a game director, or someone wanted to do his unique and cool thing and getting it pushed through all the way to release, despite probably half the company being against it. But this guy's got the big fancy title or whatever. It was his cool, awesome idea. Everyone's gonna love it. It's my great idea. Oh shit!
Zach, you already bought yours, right?
No, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, though.
What?
I'm gonna play two sides of this. Number one, I could see it from an executive standpoint. If they look at a super data report and see that the majority of your fan base is gonna die out within the first month, let alone after 3 months, pretty much no one's playing your game compared to what initially was there. So what they're probably thinking is, well, we can cash grab initially, basically run a buy-to-play model in a sense for the first month. At least initially it was 3 months, but now it's 1 month. And then they can basically switch to the free-to-play model, and not only do they get double the press because the early access starts and it pops up on Steam's front page, but maybe they get a second bit of press because now the game's fully free-to-play, and then it possibly will also be on the front page of Steam again. So it's one of those things where they're basically trying to ride the double press sort of train that usually happens when a game goes from buy-to-play to free-to-play, and they see that they can get an initial sum of money to basically counteract maybe how much it costs to localize the game and bring it over here. So from a business perspective, I could see it, but guess what? From a consumer perspective, anyone who bought these packs is basically shooting themselves in the foot for future releases. Because if this becomes popular, every game that is free-to-play is going to do it. Every Founders Pack that you're going to see is no longer going to be the top pack. It's going to get 7 days of early access. It's going to be a couple months. So it's kind of like season passes. You don't want to purchase them because then it's going to become the norm for companies to do said thing. And so from a consumer perspective, it's a train wreck. From a business perspective, I see it working really well for their wallets.
And see, I don't really think you're playing devil's advocate there, though. I think that's exactly what Jason and I are saying. It's a cash grab. Yeah. I think we're all saying the same things. We're just saying that it sucks for the players and not talking about, it's probably good for them. But ultimately, is it good for them? Because with that type of press, there hasn't been one comment on MMO Bomb or on the YouTubes with the free-to-play police that it was like, oh, yeah, well, this is totally okay. It's a bunch of grab the pitchforks, burn these mothers down type reactions to them. So I don't know if in the long run they do make the fortune that they were hoping they make here, Jason.
Yeah, but probably like everything else, it'll probably be forgotten within about 6 months or so. I mean, that's how usually. If we get so mad at everything, unless the fact that they did manage to correct it is good for them. But so as long as they didn't bungle that up and keep it going past launch, Arcade, excuse me, then they're probably going to be okay. So. But if they were looking for press and they found it.
They found it.
If that was the idea.
So let's wrap up then with something that went the other way. Instead of buy-to-play made free-to-play or free-to-play made get a quarter for $60, let's talk about a buy-to-play game that made part of itself free-to-play, an ARK Survival of the Fittest. So if you're familiar with that name, but you know it as ARK Survival Evolved, yes, that's what we're talking about. Same company, same universe, dinosaurs, build things, stab things, bow and arrow, armor, that whole deal. Now, ARK Survival Evolved is still a buy-to-play game. You spend your money on Steam, you can go ahead and play it. No problem. What they've done is they've spun off a portion of that game, a Battle Royale deathmatch type mode, into ARK Survival of the Fittest and made that a free-to-play standalone title that you can jump into and battle royale in survival modes by yourself in up to 25-person matches, or in teams of 2, 4, and 6 with varying times as far as how long you have to survive or kill everybody off. Again, people weren't happy. In this case, buy-to-play players weren't exactly thrilled that a mode that was available in a game they paid for all of a sudden became free to everybody else, particularly the people that really, really, really only played ARK Survival Evolved for that particular mode. They weren't exactly thrilled, and I can understand their point. Nobody's going to really argue badly about getting something for free, but in this case, at least I could understand where buy-to-play players were coming from. What do you think of the change, Zach? And have you taken a look at the game itself yet?
I think it's a good change, quite honestly. It's one of those things where that particular mode is probably going to be the most interesting mode for a lot of people out there. Plus, from a business perspective, you have the culling, which is going to be buy-to-play. You also have H1Z1, which is now buy-to-play. And basically it's always been buy-to-play if you look at its lifespan. I mean, that game never left early access, so, I mean, let's look at that from that perspective. But so if you go and look at it from, that direction, you sort of see that it makes sense, because it's going to be the only one of these games, at least that I can think of, that is free-to-play. And from what they said, they don't plan on really monetizing it, so that's also good. People are going to see, oh, H1Z1's monetized. So is probably going to be the culling. So, I mean, why not, play ARK Survival of the Fittest instead? Because it just makes sense. I haven't personally checked it out in terms of playing it. I watched a couple of their tournaments, and it looks fun, but I never really wanted to buy into it just because of the fact that the performance never seemed like it was good. It still doesn't whenever I watch a stream, but maybe you can verify if it is or isn't good from a performance angle. And also, it's as far as buying into it before and playing the survival mode, which is still buy-to-play, I played way too much of Rust to realize that in that particular perspective, you're going to log out and lose all your stuff because some person who's on the server for 24/7 is going to come kill you while you're sleeping. So I personally never tried it. I do like where they're going with this, and I likely will try out Survival of the Fittest eventually because they made it free. So.
Jason.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all right. It was actually a mod for Survival Evolved, so it's almost like it wasn't something that they necessarily made, the studio. I think it was. I can't tell if it was made by fans or if it was made by them, but yeah, at the very least, it was already kind of a free thing you got with the game if you wanted to download the mod. I understand you still had to buy the games. I can get why people would be a little upset about it, but doing this to try and open it up to a wider group of people, especially if you're gonna make all the esports stuff about it, they're really bragging about that and having their Survivor League and everything. I think it's a decent enough move, and it's interesting that when I was looking around at something completely separate just the other day, I forgot that the Repopulation also was doing a spin-off, a kind of survival FPS spin-off part of their game called Fragmented. So it's kind of the thing.
Right, but that was more, hey, we're doing this because we got nothing for you anymore, and we don't want you to feel asked out.
Sure, but it's kind of the thing now that everyone's making their survival game spin-off thing, whether it's that or H1Z1 or, like you said, the culling, which isn't the spin-off of anything, but it's its own thing, and it's just what people do now. It's like I almost expect that to, even on some level, you almost put something like Darkscape in that same kind of vein, not in the same arena-based thing, but more of a hardcore survival spin-off. We've got assets for this game. Let's make the hardcore survival spin-off game along with it. So,
I like the idea of this from a marketing standpoint. It gets people into a version of your game that if it appeals to them enough, maybe they come and buy your other product that has a lot of similarities. I like that type of cross-marketing type thing. I like that they have their own dedicated team to this, and I hope that's legit when they say that, because we hear that a lot, and really it just means we splintered off 5 people. If they have people working on this separately, then great, I think that's fine. I think there is a concern that is very valid from ARK Survival Evolved players that while right now this is not forecasted to impact the release date, because ARK is still technically in early access, to impact the release date there. As long as that stays true, good. If it's delayed at all at this point, regardless of the reason, ARK Survival of the Fittest is going to be blamed as the reason, regardless of what actually happens behind the scenes and caused the delay. So I think there's inherent riskiness in it, but I do like the idea of cross-promotion. That being said, the game just really didn't hit the mark for me. It really didn't. You mentioned the performance, which is a known issue in ARK, and it's something that they put in their FAQ on ARK Survival of the Fittest, them asking about optimization and settings and frames per second and everything, saying this Survival of the Fittest is better optimized than ARK Survival Evolved right now. Honestly, I didn't get that impression. There were very, very bad frames per second issues. People were talking about it in chat all the time. It took all I had to get this to record in a watchable format. The quality just wasn't there yet. Hopefully, as it moves through its own early access phases into launch, that gets better. And although I found the game fun, if you've never played ARK Survival Evolved, it is a bear to jump into this game because there is no mercy. There's no tutorial. You can hit escape and look up your key bindings, but that's about it. There's no video tutorials or anything unless you go search out somebody's on YouTube. There is nothing in the game. So if you don't know about crafting in ARK and how to do it and how to tame a dinosaur and how to build this and where to go to find this, you will die within 5 or 6 minutes because somebody will shoot you with a bow and arrow to the face that you didn't even know you could build. It's very, very unforgiving if you haven't played ARK. So you'll end up doing what I had to do, which was play a match to experiment around, go read a bunch of shit, come on back, try to apply it, get a little bit further but not quite far enough to be competitive, go read some more shit, come on back and play. That first look was an all-day process. It really was for what essentially ended up being a half-hour first look. It was an all-day process. Otherwise, it was just going to be me walking around picking up rocks because that's all I knew how to do. So I don't want to score this one yet because I would score it very low, probably in like the 5 range right now. So I'm going to hold off on scoring this one until we see some of the optimization stuff you were talking about being potentially an issue, Zach, and it definitely is an issue.
That might take over a year, though. Let's be
Right.
honest.
Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah, I mean, for as quickly and suddenly as it came out, and saying it was a mod before, it does seem like it was a bit of a YOLO launch.
If you're pinning me to the wall, I'm going to give it a 4.5 to a 5. Fine. There you go, Zach. Are you happy? 4.5 to a 5 out of 10.
I am, because let's be honest, ARK came out around Jurassic World. I mean, they obviously timed it like that for a reason. So it was probably half-baked when it came out, so the performance wasn't there. And now they're still, like, probably 6 months to a year past that, and they still haven't got it fixed? Like,
there is fun
man.
to be had there. Don't get me wrong. But performance-wise, it's just, to me, it's not playable for what they want it to be. Which is, and Jason, you mentioned how badly they are pounding the esports idea. It is in no way, shape, or form optimized enough to be an esport at this point. No. Granted, it's early access, but still.
Not that that doesn't stop other survival games. It didn't H1Z1 do a big tournament like a month after they went into early access or something? 2 months, yeah.
All right, let's slide over, get the weekly bombs. Speaking of H1Z1 and Daybreak, my bomb this week is an A-bomb for EverQuest 2. Their next mini update, which adds a couple of zones and some new content, is Station Pass members only. Ugh. Your game is free to play. What are you doing? Oh, wait. Yeah, H1Z1, Landmark. Yeah, I see what you're doing. I want to ask you, Jason, could we see the impossible here? Is it even remotely possible that we see a subscription-based game go free-to-play and then go back to a subscription-only model at some point? I can't understand the justification for this. They didn't even put forth, at least as far as I've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, viewers, they didn't even put forth these two zones are station member pass only for the next 2 months, and then free-to-play players will be able to get into it. I'm going to look while you're speculating on if that is a possible thing.
I wouldn't be totally shocked. I mean, if you think that a game like EverQuest 2 has its core audience, people have been there, some of them have been there for like 10, 15 years. Yeah, they probably got some more players when they went free-to-play, got more into that. But that was like 5 years ago, so they're probably at what they figure their stable, player base is. And all those people they aren't going to leave unless they get just completely abused to some level. So if they can get $15 a month from those people, maybe they do that. And as I brought up in chat a couple hours ago, a lot of you are probably aware of the Gawker Hulk Hogan trial that's been going on.
Yep.
Columbus Nova bought a minority share in Gawker in January. So,
wow.
Depending on how that goes, maybe they need more money.
Talk about some great investments. Zach, could we see the impossible there?
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Columbus Nova does what Columbus Nova wants, which is basically killing everything they touch. I mean, look at Gawker, look at EverQuest Next, look at what's going to probably happen to H1Z1 and all the other games that they have going right now. I mean, I see it from a certain angle, though, on why they might be doing it. Maybe DC Universal Online's doing so well with how they have that monetized, where all the new content updates are basically available to anyone who subscribed to the game, and then you purchase the DLC if you just want to do like a one-off purchase. I could see it from that angle. Maybe it's just doing really well, and they just sort of want to monetize EverQuest 2 more because, like you said, they had a share in Gawker, and they just basically lost money from that. So I don't know. It's possible. I just don't see them doing the full conversion, but it's Columbus Nova, so I mean, anything is possible.
Now I'm like rethinking my bomb here because now I can't find the original post at all where I got this from. So while you guys give your bombs, I'm going to look to see if maybe mine needs updated since I typed the show notes yesterday. Go ahead, Zach.
I'm going to give a dub bomb to Phil Spencer, basically for bringing all the Xbox exclusives over to Windows for the most part. Of course, Gears 4 and stuff like that isn't like confirmed coming over, but let's face it, it's going to. I mean, they're liquidating Xbox Ones. They're not able to catch up to the PS4, and it's really one of those things where Phil Spencer saw that Rise of the Tomb Raider did really well when they brought it over to the PC and outsold the Xbox One, I think, by threefold. And so they're like, okay, well, our Xbox One, it's doing pretty terrible. So let's go ahead and just monetize stuff on the PC and maybe make it all Windows 10 exclusive because that's our, brand new operating system, and it makes sense because it's more easily monetized. And let's make a platform on there and sort of bridge them both together. And I like that a lot. And we're seeing it with Forza. Forza is going to be free to play. I don't think we mentioned it on the show last week at all, or probably in the week before. But that's awesome. I love Forza. I can't wait to play it on my PC because, let's be honest, one of the reasons why a lot of people buy these consoles is for their exclusives. So now that the exclusives are sort of hop and ship to PC, I don't really have to worry about ever feeling like I want to go out and buy an Xbox One again. Yes, I had an Xbox One. I sold said Xbox One, luckily before it was all being liquidated. But it's great. I like it. I like where Phil Spencer's going with this. I just hope that he gets the Universal Windows platform in check. It's optimized well, and everything's good to go. But I think that also has to do with them not getting the revenue share that they wanted from Steam to maybe just sort of use Steam as a platform. So they sort of just threw together a Universal Windows platform really quick and just called it good. So,
Mr. Winter.
Well, my usual routine when I'm getting close to going to bed at night, like close to midnight or whatever, is I'd hop on something real quick. Like I play Hearthstone. That'd be a pretty frequent thing for me. Play it for like half an hour, just to wind down the day. Something I don't have to pay too much attention to. And I've just been terrible at it lately. Just can't win even in lower ranks. Just been awful. So I've gone back to winning putt. So I'm giving my bomb to winning putt. Thanks to magicman for getting me back into it a couple weeks ago.
You're welcome.
I'm never gonna forget that sign thing, but I keep bringing it up every time. So yeah, that's been my new play for like half an hour, 45 minutes just before I go to bed. Just nice and relaxing, and to bomb also to the community in there. Whenever I get into a group, people are just so polite. Congratulate each other's shots, wish each other good luck. Now I'll congratulate somebody on a good shot, but I'm always secretly hoping they hook it into the woods.
Of course.
Yeah. Although the last 2 rounds I've played, each round some guy's gotten a hole in one. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's everything I'm seeing says if you're a member for GU 100, which is the update that's coming April 18th. So if that's the case, I kind of hate that idea. Well, I don't have a problem with them selling the expansions, but I don't like this idea, and I don't know why. I don't. Maybe
Good
it's
old
just
Columbus Nova.
Yeah, maybe it's just because it's like one more thing, right? In the whole Daybreak cycle.
Could you guys go like maybe 2 weeks without just really pissing everyone off?
Yeah, and they may have done this for previous updates. I'm just unaware of it, not being an EQ2 player, and so I may be bitching about something that EQ2 players are totally fine with. And if that's the case, just correct me in the comments below. I saw it and I was like, ugh, that's kind of yucky, particularly given everything else that's happened with Daybreak. From the viewers, Elusive X Treasure says, "Da bomb to the new Crimson Count Arthas skin in Heroes of the Storm. I've been waiting for this to come out for weeks and was finally able to buy it after all. What's more awesome than the Lich King as a vampire? Not much." I agree. Go ahead, Zach.
Muffet says, according to NCSoft financial reports, WildStar, even though it's almost dead, still gives profits, so it won't vanish.
Yeah, tell that to the City of Heroes
Let's
team.
say City of Heroes.
Yeah,
Hear that?
Yeah.
City of Heroes turned a profit too when it was shut down. It wasn't profitable enough, in quotes. Yep. In quotes, it wasn't profitable enough. Go ahead, Jason.
Nebulac says, regarding NCSoft and Carbine, I would say this is the end of NCSoft ever investing in U.S./North America developers. I never say never.
Yeah, if you think about it, though, NCSoft's kind of got both ends of that spectrum, right? They invested in Guild Wars 2. They invested in WildStar. They didn't get anybody in between yet, so I think we're still safe on that front. Pedro Ferreira says, "Paragon stole the 3D camera from Smite," quoting me. "Sorry, but that's bullshit. Super Monday Night Combat was released way before Smite, and it had the first third-person camera MOBA on the market. If Paragon had the pacing of Super Monday Night Combat, Paragon would be better than League, Dota, or Smite." I agree with your second point, and duly noted on the first point. You got me. Go ahead, Zach.
Frank Tovar says, "A-bomb to Black Desert Online's IP blocking system. Seriously, even if I wanted to try it out, which I don't because it's buy to play on the West only, I can't. GTFO."
Yeah.
I see people complain about that, but I also know that if you have bad ping in that game, you're not going to have a good time. So, I don't know.
Go ahead, Jason.
First, I have to make a personal comment to Frank Tovar. I just want to say, it's okay. I don't think you're a creeper. You'll understand.
All right.
The House Always Wins says, A-bomb to Black Desert's cash shop, $30 costumes, overpriced inventory upgrades, pay-to-win ghillie suit. What is this free-to-play cash shop doing in my buy-to-play game? Yeah, the ghillie suit I've heard about. That's something that's... If it was a free-to-play game, that would have made it on the free-to-play police.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
And even so, $30 for an outfit, that's...
Well, Fredo, they decreased those now.
Okay.
I'll be honest, I actually bought one, but it was after 150 hours of game time, so I thought, might as well keep my value per dollar ratio.
Which pack did you buy when you got the game?
The $30 one, so I still have only spent about $65.
See, I got the $100 one, so I still have in-game currency to use.
Yeah.
Wilfredo Rivera says, A-bomb for a lack of really interesting sci-fi MMOs. Paragon and WildStar do not count. Can anyone please do a free-to-play sci-fi MMO right? Grr. Well, no. The repopulation is gone. Star Citizen isn't free and may not even come at some point in everything we've...
They did release their actual open world-ish kind of stuff.
Yeah, right?
Recently, yeah.
That was very surprising. Good on them. Go ahead, Zach.
Sky Shadow, right? Yeah, Sky
Shadow.
No,
Mardo Loon.
Oh, I forgot that was in that order. My bad. Marto Loon says, I'd definitely be fine with MMO Bomb covering more than just free-to-play titles. As time passes, non-free-to-play MMOs become more and more relevant to the whole genre as a whole, and as I'm sure you three noticed, it's hard to discuss anything without talking about games like WoW, BDO, Guild Wars 2, and other similar games.
They'll become Guild Wars 2 is free to play now, but yeah.
Jason!
Anyway. Sky Shadow, A-bomb to my luck. Finished a normal 5v5 Dota 2 match, and there were 9 items awarded at the end. I didn't get anything, but my friend got his 5th legendary item from random drops after the match. Oh, and he just started. He has about 25 hours of the game. I have 1,800 hours and have 2 rares.
Jeez.
If possible, I would like to know which role, I suppose, tank, support, DPS, or specific class is your favorite to play. And if possible, know it for all 4 hosts, which won't include Quinlan this week, but the rest of us can do it. I tend to play, I guess, support. I like hybrid classes, I guess. Kind of like a paladin type character in WoW. Although I played a captain in Lotro. That was my thing for a long time. I play an engineer in Guild Wars 2, and I play her as kind of a support hybrid DPS, do a few bunch of things. That way, I can appear to be helping all around, but I'm not required to be the best at anything, so I can kind of suck. So
I personally go most of the time on deeps. That's why on first looks, you'll generally see me going DPS. I tend to favor things like wizards, warlocks, but if they don't have something like that, I'll go with an archer, ranger type thing. Although there are a few games where I do prefer to tank or heal, but generally deeps and usually ranged of some type, casters, and then physical.
Yeah, so I'm DPS mainly, although that's mainly because when I used to hardcore raid, I was a healer all the time, and I just got to the point where I got tired of healing. So sometimes I still heal in games, but it's usually an alt character, and I normally will roll like a ranger first. If I don't have a ranger, or in BDO's case, I don't like the particular character model that the ranger has, I will go ahead and roll a melee sort of assassin-ish type character or a wizard of some sort. So,
Question of the week last week, is free-to-play actually dying? What about MMOs as a whole? Nintendo says, I don't think that MMOs as a whole are dead. The problem is just the amount of games that there are on the market, and the market is oversaturated. I think we'll see by far more shutdowns till a point where you really only have a handful of games left. And then at one point, people are again begging for new games in MMOs, and free-to-play will see a boom again. Free-to-play as a model is not dead. It will continue to exist, but it's surely receiving a hefty beating. Why they decide to move over to buy-to-play is unknown to me, since in-game shops and microtransactions still exist in most of those games. Well, Daybreak, as an owner of Landmark, I was kind of disappointed, not surprised by the decision, but more by the explanation why it happened. You already said it wasn't fun. After 5 years of development, they should have felt at one point that it won't be to their liking, and to say, it's a game we would not want to have it that way. What? Can you for no reason read my mind? The community never played the game, so how the hell do you know we wouldn't have fun at it? And yeah, with EQN canceled, shit finally hits the fan 24/7. Be it Reddit, the forums, the fan forums, people are not really willing to play anything from Daybreak right now. Daybreak's current course is leading straight and with light speed to closing the doors at the last time. I'm not giving a duh bomb or an A bomb, but a czar bomb to how could it be any other thing than Daybreak Games. Bad choices leading to certain death. If they would announce the closing of Daybreak tomorrow, none would be shocked. I can't disagree with a thing in there right now. Go ahead, Zach.
Curse says, free-to-play is not dying. Bad games and game development companies are. Publishers are turning away from free-to-play at launch because they are afraid of their games. They're afraid that their games are not good enough, and players might see it before they pay. It only looks like free-to-play is in a bad spot now because all bad games go free-to-play as a last resort. But it's not free-to-play that kills those games, it's bad management and bad design. On the other hand, there are new free games like World of Warships, Armored Warfare, Black Desert, it's free-to-play where I live, which are doing rather well. The main lesson here is that you can't keep making the same amazing WoW killer that will blow your mind again and again for 12 years and expect it to sell every single time. P.S. Wow, for some reason, posting here always makes me self-conscious about my English, even though I'm pretty sure I'm fluent. You are very fluent, sir.
Yeah, it looked perfect to me. And hell, if that is not fluent, then I am not even close to fluent in any other language besides English. Go ahead, Jason.
Pippi says, Path of Exile. Do it like Path of Exile. Path of Exile is good for you. Path of Exile. Hypnotoad approves of Path of Exile. No,
Deadlock says, I think the free-to-play model has been long dead, especially when you pay for access via Founders Packs to get in a so-called free-to-play MMO, which to me doesn't make it free-to-play at all when you're asking me to pay money for it. To play it. Also, when you add a sub fee to a free-to-play game, well, that's not free-to-play at all. I'm looking at you, Try-On Worlds, with your patron status. Deadlock not happy with the Try-On Worlds. Go ahead, Zach.
Zaberfang X says, don't think free-to-play is dying, just changing to a new form.
Yeah, not free-to-play. Go ahead, Jason.
So it's like Pokemon. It's just evolving.
It's evolving!
Free-to-play evolved into buy-to-play. Anyway, Genesee Gaming says, question of the week, are free-to-play and MMOs dying? The MMORPG is founded from a lack of novelty. Kill 10 wolves and find my magic beanbag are so 20 years ago. Small changes to combat and prettier graphics do not make these overdone-to-death tropes any more fun. Perhaps there's a lack of creative thinking, or maybe companies are afraid to take risks by changing things too much. But even the new AAA games suffer from this recycling. Skyforge, meh. Blade and Soul, meh. I've been afraid to purchase Black Desert for fear of the same meh feeling. Like magicman said about Asta, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, took it to Goodwill years ago. The same can be said about any genre in gaming. We are tired of getting the same thing over and over again. Everything must evolve or it dies. Monetization matters far less than giving people the new and interesting experience. Minecraft and Rocket League are good examples. Free-to-play or pay-to-play, MMOs are not dying. They are following the natural path of evolution coming from novelty.
Martaloon says, one of the main ideas of MOBAs since they started with the original Dota was to compress the leveling process of games like WoW into 30-60 minutes to give you the depth and strategy of creating a build without having to play the game for 6 months. Games like Warframe take a different approach. It compresses the idea of WoW dungeons, the idea of grinding an instance over and over until you get the loot you want. All of this behind a third-person shooter with alien ninja space robots. So yes, the market is switching away from big MMOs and instead is trying to find all the good ideas and design concepts MMOs have and put them into more appealing packages. Even games that are definitely MMOs, WildStar, Elder Scrolls Online, Black Desert Online, try to change the formula to some degree. I'd say that's a fair point, and rather well said. Zach, finish us off here.
Yep, Wilfredo Rivera says, question of the week, all things must come to an end, but fortunately, free-to-play is still alive. Unfortunately, free-to-play has a cold and a fever, and the only cure is for players to support their favorite game with some form of purchase from the cash shop, and also for devs and publishers to charge for expansions and make their cash shop balanced and fairly priced, or allow for alternative means to acquire these items by a referral system. Free-to-play marketing is all about word of mouth, new players, and referring to Free-to-Play Cast 171 to get new MMO players into these types of games just may be the shot free-to-play needs. Also, more cowbell.
Everything always needs more cowbell. Question of the week for next week. What was the Founders Pack or Early Access purchase you took the worst beating on? Mine is EverQuest Landmark.
I was about to say, that's going to be like 90% of the replies.
Yeah, mine was EverQuest Landmark. $100, and I literally signed into it twice on the same day, and I only logged in the second time because the first time I got disconnected. So I took an absolute beating on that. I didn't use a damn thing in there. So let us know in the comments below what Early Access or Founders Pack you took the worst beating on. Make sure to leave your weekly bomb, bomb for something good, A-bomb for something bad in the comments below, and any questions you have for the hosts. Until next week, Jason, where can everybody find you?
Find me on the Twitter at WinterInformal. Find me espousing my many views on mmobomb.com.
Mr. Zach Sharps.
Just Twitter at Zach Sharps. I generally give small little reviews of random things on there. I just sort of talked about 11/22/63 and how amazing that show is. So if you guys want to hear random things, follow my Twitter.
The book was very good. I have not watched the show yet.
Show is
I'm
amazing.
Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man. You can follow me on Twitter at MagicMan1, MagicManN1, or of course come on over to MMOBomb.com. Check out all the great articles, videos, giveaways. Right now we got a Neverwinter item giveaway running until March 31st, so you can check that out. Come visit us on the site, leave a thumbs up and a comment. Until next time, stay safe. See you in the servers.